In today's Ascension with A Course in Miracles, which actually is episode 250, which means I've been doing this for 5 years. It's amazing. Just about every Wednesday. I think we've only not had a handful of them over the 5 years. And it's just something that I feel so honored when I was inspired to do this. Oh, makes me a little weepy to think about that. And I remember where I started. I was living in Atlanta and Dunwoody at the time, and it was just I got that guidance. You're going to start doing these Wednesday transmissions, and you're going to just open your mouth and let whatever flows. And usually I find out minutes before we're meeting, and today is no exception. Today we are going to look at lesson 32. Last week we looked at lesson 31. And the reason lesson 31 was inspired to me to share last week is because that lesson, I am not a victim of the world I see, specifically speaks to what happens to us when we accept that as our truth. We literally declare our independence from the ego. The minute that we decide that we're not going to allow our victim story to define us, we begin the process of undoing, dissolving, ending the trance that we're under because of the ego mind, or the ego thoughts, I should call it. There's only one mind. We use the mind of God, which is, think about it as a projector in a movie theater. Everybody uses the same projector to project whatever movie you want to watch on the screen. The screen is what we call the world, which is when you understand what the Course is teaching you, the reason it calls the world an illusion is because it's the projection of what you have put into the projector. The projector is the mind of God. The real that we put in it, the thing that has all the stuff that you have recorded, which is all of your past memories, the real, REEL, feels real, REAL, when you project it on the screen. If we understand that we are the projector, that is what our mind does, then we become more conscious about what are we putting inside of the projector. What are we putting in there? Are we filling it up with the past? Well, we're going to keep playing it over and over again. If you've got one movie that you keep playing, you're going to see that same thing over and over and over again. What the ego tricks us into believing is that because we are watching it and it is real, then there can't be anything else. So we get caught up in doing the same thing, expecting different results. We're watching the same movie, the same reel, expecting a different result. This lesson 31 from last week, and I highly recommend that you watch episode 249 if you haven't watched it. When you acknowledge you're not a victim of the world you see, you declare your independence from the movie that you're projecting, defining who you are. Now you literally pull that out of the projector. You decide, I want to see the way God sees things. I want to know the truth of who I am. Well, to know the truth of who you are, you have to accept that every projector has a light in it, right? How else do you project the movie out there? So we have to have the movie and we have to have the light behind it that casts the movie onto the screen. So when you take control of your mind, which is the projector, and you pull the reel of the past, what is left is that light. That's what we're beginning to acknowledge is who we are. Our Declaration of Independence states, I'm not the real that recorded the past, my past memories, circumstances, situations, what is played out in the media, what, my grandmother told me, what the church says about me, what the government says is the truth of who I am. What am I when I pull that out? When I pull the past out, when I pull the programming, the repetition, all that's left is a light in the projector. So when we remove the past, We're declaring our independence from the past. We're no longer a victim of the world we see. Now, what is left is the light. Now we can put anything in there that we want. We can put into the projector. What kind of a world do you want? The Course tells us in many places we have to be clear about what is it that we want to experience. We have created this experience. God gave us free will to create whatever we want to create. That means that when we take control of our mind, when we declare independence from the ego and we take control of our mind, we can project anything we want. And this is why we have to get clear about what we want and observe the mind that says, well, yes, we want a world where, everybody gets along, where everybody's honest, where everybody is happy and everybody is compassionate and gentle. Well, to have that world, you have to become it, because what you're going to be projecting is who you are. How are you showing up? That's going to create the new story that you are believing is true about you. So while we are the light, we are going to project out there our beliefs, our thoughts. As much as we used to keep repeating the past, now we got to repeat something new. You don't have to really repeat it. You just have to be aware of it. And as you're aware of it, as a matter of fact, when you are aware, you're not nilly-willy repeating, you are consciously co-creating. And to be able to experience a whole new world, you've got to, like, in the movie Aladdin, the whole new world is a world that will reflect back to us who we show up as. So the Course in Miracles teaches us, when I give up being a victim, then what am I? Well, first of all, you are and will always be, have always been the light of the world. You are as God created you, a powerful creator that didn't realize how powerful your mind is. So you let your mind be filled with programming. We just put on a reel of what everybody said is religion, is the truth, is what God is what how things are. And we've been playing that one unaware that we can change it. Now that we're aware that we can change it, we go to the Course and find out, well, who are we? Lesson 32 tells us that the title of that lesson, a powerful mantra to repeat, is, I have invented the world I see. So if I invented the world I see, what am I? You're a powerful creator. And we all have been powerful creators regurgitating what was given to us. We took all those hand-me-down beliefs, made them feel real because everybody else believed them, or at least, the people that we loved and trusted and respected believed them. Now we are taking control of our own mind, declaring our independence from groupthink. When we declare independence from groupthink, we pull that out. What is left? Who we are, the light, and the projector. The projector is going to put out there whatever world we want to see. So if we are going to invent the world that we're seeing, why not invent an amazing world? This is why the Course is teaching us to understand the power of our mind, training us to understand what the mind does, the power that it has. Where did that power come from? The power of our mind comes from God's mind, because we're using one mind. We're using God's mind to project. So when you become a conscious creator and you answer the question, what do I want, from a place of having done your inner work, realizing that we're a one, you've experienced the atonement, you realize we're all made of the same consciousness. Everything is the substance of what God is. And when we get to the place that we become really clear that we're utilizing the powerful mind of God to create, instead of regurgitating, we want to become conscious creators of the new. Instead of being the unconscious consumers of what we've been told we are supposed to have and buy and gather and collect and all of that consuming, we then shift to becoming creators, conscious creators of our reality, where you don't have to hold on to anything. You don't have to collect anything because you recognize that you're on a constant new experience. Who you are is brand new in every single moment. Why do we want to collect and gather things that collect dust that, I remember some of the things that my mom collected when we went through her stuff after she passed away. My sisters and I, we didn't want that stuff. And that's why I have told my kids before I left Atlanta, what do you want? Do you want anything that I have? And they were like, no. And, had I been in a different mindset, had I been in my unconscious mindset, I would have gotten offended. What do you mean, all this stuff? This is beautiful. This is expensive. I bought this. I collected the best of the best. And I would have been very offended. But of course, being in the consciousness that I'm at, I'm like, okay, cool. You don't want it. I'll share it with my friends. And I had a big old party and had 35 of my friends came over. You were there, Natalia. And I told everybody, pick whatever you want. You take it. Because if it means something to you, then it should be with you. But I'm not going to continue to carry things, especially if my kids don't want it. So we've got to get clear that we are powerful creators, and accumulating things only binds us to stuff that distorts our perception of reality. Because now we got these things that we got to take care of. We believe they, oh, I'm the collector of this art, or I'm the collector of this, these figurines, or I'm the collector of this car collection, or whatever it might be. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with any of that. As long as you are aware that none of those things add value to you, then collect away. By all means, collect away. I didn't want to keep collecting dust because those things in my house, that's what they did. I collected them, they collected dust. And frankly, I don't like cleaning that much. So I love a clean house, but I don't like having to go over things over and over and over again. So the opportunity when we get really clear about who we are, being the light of the world, and the world that we see, we invented it. What do I want to put on it? What do I want to experience? A conscious creator creates from the awareness that who you are doesn't need anything added to you. That's why the happy dream is going to be co-created by people who believe in sharing in because generosity is part of it. Not only sharing financial resources, because that's not what generosity is all about. The ego tells us that that's what it is, but generosity, when you understand what the course is teaching, is a generosity of spirit. You're sharing the love that you have. If you have a garden, you share your tomatoes. If you have a cow, you share your milk. If you have, a garden where you grow more than the tomatoes, you share that corn too. You share your time. You share your knowledge, your wisdom. You share your laughter, your joy. You openly, you become totally transparent because there's nothing to hide. What would there be to hide if you're living in the now moment and you are present to what is? So, lesson 32 is key that we understand what it means, because if you're going to become independent if you declare your independence from the world and you are accepting who you are as God created you, then the next step is take responsibility for the world you want to co-create. Become clear about what you want. This is why we are encouraged by channelers who channel specifically Jesus's material, or channel Jesus, I should say, who specifically speak to the teachings of A Course in Miracles. This would be Erin Michelle in the Academy. I just today placed her latest channeling that came out this morning. In Tina Louise, who also channels A Course in Miracles, channels Jesus teaching about A Course in Miracles, because when you understand who you are, you want to connect with like-minded people, which is why I've created the Awareness Academy, so we can help each other stay not only honest about where we are in our journey, but clear about what is the world that we want to see. And when we take responsibility for the power of our mind and we collectively are clear that we want a world that's transparent, a world built on trust, a world where God is known for what the truth of what God is, where we see each other as the powerful creators that we are, where there's no need to blame, to shame anybody, to judge anybody, because we recognize that whatever I see out there comes from what I believe is the truth of who I am. When we take that level of responsibility, that is when we are truly being the powerful being that God created us to be. While we are in these temporary bodies, and we are here to then leave the world a better place. We are clear that we want to leave it in the highest possible vibration that we can be at, because we're committed to raising our frequency. So whenever we're having experiences of shame and guilt and those lower frequencies that I have placed on this chart, as you are ascending inside of you in awareness of who you are, in healing old traumas and dramas and things that have happened to you, you are taking responsibility for raising your own frequency. And we've heard this a million times from so many different places, like attracts like. We begin to gravitate towards those people who are looking at the world no longer as being a victim of it, but as co-creating. What do we want? What kind of a world do we want? So let's look at what Jesus has to say. Lesson 32, I have invented the world I see. Paragraph 1. Today, we're continuing to develop the theme of cause and effect. You are not the victim of the world you see because you invented it. You can give it up as easily as you made it up. You will see it or not see it as you wish. While you want it, you will see it. When you no longer want it, it will not be there for you to see. That paragraph alone tells you how powerful you are, how powerful we are. We've made up this world. This is one of the biggest hurdles that every sincere student of truth must come to at some point. And we have a lot of things in the world that distract us. We have the job that distracts us. Oh, the career, what I'm contributing to the world. I get my money from over there, and I have this house that I tend to, and this is my partner. These are my children. This is my car that I drive. This is my stuff that I collect. So it's very seductive to believe that all these things define me. Because when you really understand that you're not a victim of the world you see, what you thought defined you actually confines you. It limits you to who you can be. It limits you to being just the person who has this job or this hobby or this thing. And then you're going to be playing out what that character would play out with those things. If you happen to be you consider yourself to be an accountant, well, everything is going to be determined based on numbers and math and addition and division and all of those things. The mind then becomes very narrowed into that particular way of perceiving the world. If your hobby or the thing that you do as a farmer, then you're going to look at everything through that lens, which means it narrows it. So when we are studying A Course in Miracles, it is inviting us to be honest with ourselves. And honesty is a characteristic of a teacher of God. Honesty says, I'm believing that I'm an accountant. I'm believing that I'm a farmer, which is why I go to, farmers conferences and I participate in these things. And I'm getting more certificates on how to become, whatever farmers do. I'm going to specialize in how to culture raw milk so that I can have the best cheese or whatever it might be. When we are honest and we recognize, okay, this is what I'm specializing in. This is what these are the abilities. We talked about that last night in one of our classes. These are the abilities that I have, but this is not all that I am, which is an important thing about honesty. I am an infinite creator, created by God to create like God. except for one thing. I can't create myself. I'm already here. So don't worry about that. Boom, you're there. Now, what do I want to do with all that power? Well, I am deciding that this is who I am in this incarnation. These are the skills, the abilities that I have. So I'm going to tend to that. I'll tend to the farm. I'll tend to the accounting. I'll be the stay-at-home mom or the retired dad. I'll spend time with my grandkids, like I know you do, Mike, with you help your family so much as a very active grandfather, retired grandfather. But that's not all that you are. That's who you are is beyond that. What you are is way beyond that. Having this experience. Honesty acknowledges this is who I am. This is what I'm experiencing in this lifetime. This is why when we begin the process of waking up, we make peace with where we're at. We make peace that we incarnated as a male, as a female, as a, bisexual, as a transsexual. You make peace with what you feel is what you are experiencing. And when you make peace with that, you don't really need to change things too much. You begin to let yourself experience a way to enjoy that, which joy is another one of our characteristics. And when you can acknowledge, this is who I am having this experience, now in accepting that you are the light of the world, you are going to project onto the world from a joyful place what it is that you want to experience out of that specific situation that you have incarnated as. So when you realize you cannot be the victim of the world, if you come from all that is into this finite experience, what is there to blame? Who is there to blame? You got the parents that you got because that's where you incarnated. You've got the body that you've got because that's the one you're incarnated with. You have the attributes that you have. You've got the abilities that you have. Make peace with them. And this is one of those very important hurdles that we have, all of us have to overcome. I come from all that is into a very finite aspect of what is possible in creation. And then when you accept that this is what you are, then shine on. Bloom where you're planted. Be all that you can be within that. Be the best grandpa. Be the best sister. Be the best mother. Be the best accountant. Be the best farmer. And what you will discover is that as you're enjoying where you are because you made peace with it, you will begin to recognize that the old reel that you kept repeating, that fades away because you're present in the now moment, accepting the inspiration that is coming through you to bring to this world as a gift. Because when we awaken to the truth of who we are and we're all that is expressing as a finite being, we go to the all that is to get our inspiration. We don't look to the world that is a projection to inform us. That would be absolutely silly for one who is awake. To go to the limitation to tell me what should I do next, you go to the infinite potential to inform you of what would be next. What does God, Source Spirit, want to experience through you and as you? So it's very important that we recognize that we can give up the world that we made up, the world of lying and cheating and corruption and murders and child abuse. You can give that up. And by giving it up, it doesn't mean that you're denying that those things are happening, is that you withdraw the power that you give it through the judgments that you have on it. That's wrong. That shouldn't be happening. When we're pointing at the stuff out there that we don't like, we're in essence saying, I need you to stay in my reality because I'm giving you energy. I'm giving you my attention. Our attention is the most important thing that we possibly have while we are in this incarnation, because whatever we focus on, it is going to expand. So when we're looking at things that we don't like, the Course doesn't tell us to deny that that is happening, to deny the child abuse, to deny the corruption, but to deny it has power over us. That's what this statement is all about. I'm not a victim of the corruption. I'm not a victim of the human trafficking. Then what do I want to invent instead? Well, if I want a world where we operate in kindness and compassion and transparency, you got to become that. You got to become transparent. Look at the secrets that you don't want anybody to know about you and begin to get comfortable sharing that. Again, that's why I've created the Awareness Academy, a place where we can open up about things so that we can begin to release what the ego wants to hold as a secret. Because if you hold it as a secret, it's going to get projected out there for you to see. Oh, yeah, that's terrible. Oh my gosh, I'm ashamed of the things that I did, but they're worse than I am. Oh, they're on the news. That's way worse. So we compare ourselves secretly through the ego perspective, and we want to stop that. We want to bring everything out. We want to have nothing that is a secret. That's why I am an open book. Anything that I've ever done, I have already talked about it a million times because I don't want to hold on to something that I haven't recognized as an opportunity for me to either have learned from it, have forgiven that step, and now from that empty place, more of my light can shine through. Think about the secrets that we hold are like blocks that block the light that could be shining. That's why we don't want to hold on to secrets. We want to get them out, not only to forgive them, forgive ourselves for the things that we did when we didn't know any different, when maybe we did know different, but we still did it. Because you've got to be clear that you are the one who gets to create the world that you see. The more light that is shining from you, the more light you're going to see on the screen. The more darkness that you hold within you, the more that operates as the reels that you're projecting through, and you're going to see it out there. So when we go to the next paragraph, number 2, the idea for today, like the preceding ones, applies to your inner and outer worlds, which are actually the same. Another one of those things we have to understand, not only have we made all this up, but what is out there is always, 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 without exception, a reflection of what is within you. That is why when we're judging the bad people, it is a reflection of something within us that we have either not fully seen, not fully accepted, which is why when we see something that we don't like, that irritation is an invitation to look at, where have I done that? Where have I been the liar, the cheater, the murderer, the and oftentimes people say, well, I would never do that. Well, here's the thing. You may consciously not do that, but in truth, we all have the potential to do anything. Every one of us has the potential to go from the darkest of the darkest to the lightest of the lightest. And just acknowledging that just like me, that person had the potential and acted it out. I have the potential to act it out. So if you are determined to have a different world that you are looking at, if you want to invent a whole new world, if you want to invent a happy dream, you must acknowledge that you forgive that person for doing what they did, because you forgive yourself for not being aware of the consequences of, acting that out, behaving that way. Because cause and effect are one. The world that you see comes from your inner world. When you couple that with the oneness that we're accepting the atonement, we are all one, all minds are joined. Is there really a difference between you and the murderer out there? You and the child rapist out there? We have to get comfortable that God created us with free will to create whatever experience we want to create. Some have taken it pretty far and gone as far down into darkness as they can because they want to, because God created us free to do that. At a time when all the dark stuff is coming out, it is incumbent upon students of truth, specifically the Course in Miracles students who have moved beyond, oh, the world's an illusion and, has no power over me, and they're basically in spiritual bypassing. And we all will do that. We all get to the point, it's an illusion, it doesn't matter. I've done it, everybody's going to do it. But If you keep going, which is why we have the characteristic of honesty, where we take responsibility for every level of consciousness that is possible. The irritation always tells us which level we're at. It invites us to acknowledge that. Don't focus on the thing that was done. Focus on the possibility that we all have to co-create from low frequency, because we're listening to the ego's voice. When you can forgive those, just as Jesus showed us, Jesus taught us through the example, he forgave the ones who were murdering him, because he recognized they don't remember who they are. If they don't remember who they are, it's upon you to remember who they are. And when you remember who they are, one with you, one with God, they are the light acting out something dark. Well, they're acting out something that is not who they truly are. How do we heal the world? We acknowledge the powerful beings that are our holy brothers and sisters everywhere, either in a state of forgetting who they are or in a state of remembering who they are, or maybe in a state where they know who they are, like Jesus was, and you then show that. Because when we want to change the world that we see, we have to accept what cause and effect is all about. Cause is that whatever I think about, I bring about. Our thoughts create our reality. You cannot have a thought of that bad person out there and not continue to create a world with bad people in it. And I know that this is way far out kind of stuff, but how free do you want to be? That's one of the most important questions that I ever ask myself, and I ask my students all the time. How free do you want to be? Because the more that we expand out of the ego's limitation, the more we expand into ultimate possibilities. It's from that place that you acknowledge, oh, I wanted to be pretty bound. So I dropped myself into pretty low frequency. And in that low frequency, of course, I was easily seduced into things that are dark and that are not nice and that are unloving. We are powerful beings, and we need to forgive ourselves for creating a world from lack of awareness of how powerful we are. And when we begin to realize how powerful we are, until you acknowledge that everybody is just as powerful, you will not be able to recognize the other as a mirror of your potential. So the Course invites us not to deny that there are things happening out there, but to deny that they have power over us. And the beautiful thing is, the more that we come into and take care of the cause and effect within us, I'm at peace with how powerful I am. I forgive myself for all the things that I created unknowingly, all the mayhem and the lying and the cheating and the trail of betrayals and the people that I hurt. Then I need to forgive myself. I didn't know any better. Now that I know who I am, I consciously want the effect that I see on the screen to be caused by the light that is in me. So back to the projector analogy. If my mind is the projector, what do I want to project out there? Because cause, which is the light in me, covered up by ego stories, projects the effect of a pretty dark movie. You remove the darkness through forgiveness, because you can't judge others. You don't know why they did what they did. We don't know their script. We don't know their agreements with God and the things that they're going to do when they're here. We don't really know everything. Then all you have left is the light to project. So then the cause of the world that you are observing, the world that you want to invent, the happy dream you want to experience, is caused by the light that you know is the truth of who you are, but you won't see the light in another unless you are looking with a light in you, because that's how you see light. If you see darkness, it's because your light is blocked. You forgive yourself of your own darkness. Now light is all that shines. Now you see the brother or sister, you go, oh my goodness, that brother or that sister, they don't remember who they are. Let me not add to their lies and tell them they're bad or they're better than somebody else. Let me add to their truth and say, brother, sister, I see your light. I am not going to dwell on judging the thing that you're doing that is unloving because that's not really who you are. Now you'll sound like a nutcase, and that's okay. And I rather be a nutcase in the midst of this insane world than somebody who thinks I know everything and I'm operating in total darkness. The next part of this paragraph number 2, this is sentence number 2. It tells us, however, since you see them as different cause and effect, the practice periods for today will again include 2 phases. One involving the world you see outside you, and the other, the world you see in your mind. In today's exercises, try to introduce the thought that both are in your own imagination. When we were little, one of the reasons I love being with my grand gurus, because they are showing me what imagination looks like. Sweet little Ellie, 2 years old, can sit inside of her sandbox, and she is telling me about the castle that she built and the doggy that's there and the lion that came by, and she talks about, the car and the motorcycle and all the things in that castle. None of it is there. Not in physical form, but my gosh, she sees it there. Her imagination is intact. She hasn't been trained out of it. Most of us, our imagination is trained out of us when we're very little, when we're told how things are, when we're told what is real, what is not real. I remember my sweet little daughter when she was about Ellie's age. She was maybe a little older. She was talking a little bit more clearly. And she had an imaginary friend named Lucy. And I remember telling her, or she was sharing something Lucy was sharing with her. And I was like, okay, that's not acceptable. We're not going to have an imaginary friend. Stop pretending that there is a Lucy, because there's no Lucy here. Of course, later on in my journey, my spiritual journey, I began to realize, wow, she was seeing her guides. And her guide might have told her the name Lucy. That's not a name that we ever used in our house. So where did this come from? I don't know. Maybe she watched it on a cartoon. I don't know where she watched the name Lucy and got that name. But I wasn't honoring what she was seeing. I was telling her what she could and couldn't see. So little by little, we are trained out of activating our imagination. But guess what? It's our imagination that creates the projection. Think about that. Everything that we imagine comes into reality. This is why we're safe in the mind of God, imagining that we're not. We have to make peace that our mind has been hijacked by information that is not true. It is not true, but if we believe it, we accept it as our truth, which is why, as part of, one of the hurdles to step out of being under the influence of the ego is because you got to begin to question your own beliefs, begin to be open to the possibility that maybe what you think is true is not. And that requires a lot of courage. And it requires that you trust that there is more beyond what you know. One of the trickiest things of the ego is what it believes is true becomes the limitation that creates the confinement that we then view the world through, or from, I should say. So the process of awakening requires that we practice a characteristic of open-mindedness. And, I believe that I should do this. I was married to just, a sweet, sweet man, Ken. And he was set in that he took vitamins every day. He had to have the supplements. That's what kept his body healthy. I really had never taken a vitamin until I met him, and I was in my mid-40s. And we started dating, and when we started spending time together, spending the night with each other, in the morning, he'd take all his vitamins and he started handing me vitamins. And I was like, well, I don't take vitamins. And then I realized, okay, that's a limitation. I don't take vitamins. That's a limit. I don't do that. So I decided what if I accept these vitamins? And Do I need those vitamins in my body? My body wasn't asking for vitamins. Then I decided, well, he's giving them to me with a lot of love. He loves me and wants me to be healthy. He believes that the vitamins make him healthy. He's just sharing something with me that is coming from a loving place. So I started taking vitamins, which I don't do well with big pills. I mean, they make me gag. So I started taking the vitamins and just simply saying, I accept the love that he has for me. He really cares about me. So I began to just take vitamins because I saw them as nothing more than an extension of his love. I opened my mindset. Instead of I don't take vitamins, I take them because they're love. And that absolutely expanded me. And it made it easier for us because he was worried that I wasn't getting vitamins and I was going to get sick. So till this day, I really don't do a whole lot of vitamins. Now I'm on a regiment of a few supplements that I take to strengthen my lungs. I'm totally okay with that. So I had to break out of that box. All of us have to at some point realize that our thoughts cause our reality. And if we are a no, this is I don't do that, or yes, this is the only thing that I do, even when we go out to dinner, if you only go to, if Mexican is the only foreign food that you eat, look at the limitation. Why do you not try Indian? Why do you not try Chinese? Did you have a bad experience that caused a limitation? Go try it again somewhere else. We've got to be open-minded. We've got to remove all of the limitations because that is one way that we will see how the effects that we experience about the world are caused by our perception of it. So activate that imagination. Well, I wonder, how can I look at this? Well, if I had a bad situation with Chinese food 10 years ago, let me use my imagination. I'm going to walk into the restaurant. It's going to be a different restaurant than I went to the one 10 years ago. Everybody's going to be wonderful to me. They're going to be so happy to see me. They're going to cook my food with love. I mean, one of the lessons in A Course in Miracles is that we're entitled to miracles. I walk around expecting everybody to be good to me, to be nice to me, to be loving to me, to care about me. And they don't have to even say those words, but I'm entitled to only love coming towards me because love is what I'm putting out. So when I meet people, I don't have this weird feeling that I used to have. Oh, look at this person. By the way they look, they must be this, or by the way they act, they must be thinking that. That's not how I operate anymore. Because I've taken control of my imagination. I imagine what I want because I know I'm entitled to having what I want. Why? Because I'm inventing it. I'm inventing the world I see. So if my imagination is causing the effect that I'm feeling, why not cause the effect that I prefer to feel? This is why you got to get clear about what do you want. Happy dream creators are creating what they prefer, and we prefer fun and easy. We prefer love and joy. We prefer peace and transparency. So when you become that, you will receive that. Why? Cause and effect. Where does it start? In the cause that you are. How do you get that? Imagine it. You've got to get back to that place of imagination, just as Ellie imagines tigers and lions or whatever animals and cars that are not there. In physicality, they're there in her mind. So she's having that experience. And she'll spend an hour in the sandbox creating and shoveling and moving, and she's seeing this whole world. Why? Because she's inventing the world that she sees. That's why these little grand gurus of mine are the greatest teachers I've ever had. I've had awesome teachers who helped me see things that were going on in my mind that were causing me to suffer. But I didn't really have a teacher, haven't, until these grand gurus started teaching me about imagination. So when I sit and I get to sit with them all the time, regularly, I'm talking about, I'm getting my PhD in spirituality. I thank Ken and Spencer. I feel like I got my master's in spirituality with them. But these kids, a whole new level. Because what are they teaching me? They're teaching me to be like little children, which is what Jesus said. To get into the kingdom of heaven, you must become like a little child. And becoming like a little child is activating our imagination again. And when you begin to activate your imagination and you're aware that your thoughts create your reality, now you're inventing the world you want to see. But to get clear about the world you want to see, you've got to recognize that you can't be giving power to anybody out there to make you feel anything. Cause and effect. If you feel bad, you caused it. And the feeling bad is the effect of the thoughts that you had in your mind. If there were thoughts of lack and limitation, well, then you're going to experience that. I'm telling you, accepting how powerful you are is key to freeing yourself from the world that we've been conditioned to believe has power over us, so that we can basically step into the co-creation of the world that we prefer. This is why we were given Course in Miracles 50 years ago, so that we can become the co-creators of this happy dream. So, imagination, take control of your imagination again. Ego has been controlling it, limited and used it to get power away. You got to take control of it, recognize how powerful you are. Cause and effect are one. It's all happening from within you, and use that imagination to co-create, invent the world that you want to experience. Paragraph number 3. Again, we will begin the practice periods for the morning and evening by repeating the idea for today 2 or 3 times while looking around the world you see as outside yourself. Then close your eyes and look around your inner world. Try to treat them both as equally as possible. Repeat the idea for today unhurriedly as often as you wish. As you watch the images your imagination presents to your awareness. That sentence, let's break this down. Watch the images on the screen. Your imagination, you're the projector, presents to your awareness. You're the one observing, the projector, projecting what you imagined out into the world. This is why it's important that for a while we accept that there are 3 parts to us. There is the one who is aware of what's happening, and then there's the voice of the ego and the voice of the Holy Spirit. There is the recognition of who we are, the truth, the light that we are, and then there's all the lies that we have believed up until now. Who is deciding between these two? The one who's aware of the two. So let me repeat this sentence. Repeat the idea for today unhurriedly as often as you wish. Here's where I'm going to focus on. As you watch the images, your imagination presents to your awareness. You are the awareness watching the images that have been presented from your imagination. When we incarnated and said, okay, I'm separate from God, we deliberately created a world that left God out. But that world did not leave egos out. So we're experiencing all of these other egos talking to us and influencing us. Well, if they're egos, they too have left God out. This is why most religion, does not talk about the one true God. They speak of a wrathful God. One of the very few teachings about God that are true come from Jesus, and most of that has been changed. Most of it has been left out. Why? Because if we know the truth of who we are in a world that it appears to be controlled by the ego, well, it's very inconvenient for this frequency to have a bright light in it. So what did they do with bright lights? Well, they crucified them. They burned them at the stake. They put them in jail. They call them conspiracy theorists. They don't want the truth to be shared inside of the illusion. Now, what's important to understand about that is that this is why the Course does not teach us to change the world. Because the world that we're experiencing, that we're waking up from, is a 3rd dimensional world. It wants to stay in a low frequency state for those who incarnated to want to be there. So as we're waking up, we need to step out of that. We need to decide, nope, that's not the world that I'm vibing with. I'm not going to keep participating in these things. I'm not going to continue to give my power, my money, my attention to these things. But we need to respect that other beings that God created want to swim inside of that frequency. So the course is teaching us that we're not here to change the world, we're here to change our mind about the world. And the way we change our mind is we realize, okay, this is the world of the ego. I don't want to experience the world of the ego anymore. Then be happy co-creating a whole new world. Be happy shifting your attention, utilizing your imagination. Find your tribe, connect with those who are vibrating at a different frequency. This is something that took me a while to understand, and by a while, I'm talking years. I wanted to get the people in my egoic world to change and see the world the way I was starting to see it. And my gosh, looking back, how unloving was that? Trying to wake up my husband, the father of my daddy, trying to wake up my friends and get them to see, yes, there's more than this. Very unloving, but I had to learn through that contrast, stop trying to wake them up when I had people trying to share some of these truths to me, and I thought they were cuckoo. And then for a while, I'm realizing that I'm trying to teach them about these woo-woo things. Well, I'm cuckoo to them. I'm thinking I'm woo-woo, but I'm actually to them, I'm coming off as insane. So I had to pull myself out of that, begin to find my tribe. This is why I opened the Center for Awareness, because I was inspired to. I realized there's not a whole lot of that around here. Open up your own space and build it, and they will come. And sure enough, they came. We built a beautiful community there. And this is why now I've got an online community, because I don't want to be limited by geography anymore, especially when we have technology that can connect us like we're doing right here. Thank you all so much for coming, especially those of you who come week after week. And some of you have been coming since the very beginning. 250 episodes today. Can you believe that? Holy cow, this is pretty amazing. So realizing that some want to play in 3D, some want to play in 5D. We're building a bridge from 3 to 5, and that's the bridge that we're building within us. Are we moving out of our lower frequencies and rising up to our higher potential? Well, to move to your highest potential is to accept that you're the creator of your own reality. Utilize your imagination. Imagine all you want to imagine. Imagine the most far out possibilities. When you're imagining with love and with light, you cannot imagine hurting anybody whatsoever. It all becomes beautiful. It's like Kelly. She's got all these different creatures and characters in her castle, but they're all helping each other. Everybody is loving and gentle and kind and helpful. It's fun. It's easy. Let's go to this next paragraph 4. For the 2 longer periods of these practices, 3 to 5 minutes are recommended. Can you sit for 5 minutes accepting? Wow, I am powerful. Ego doesn't want you to sit for 5 minutes acknowledging you're powerful. You are the one who's creating your reality. These kinds of exercises, ego wants you to quickly move past them, maybe 30 seconds of I'm powerful. Only long enough to, pat myself on the back, I am so good. Yes, ego likes that. But to sit in honest contemplation that you are the creator of your reality, that everything that you see is a projection from you, how did you contribute to the 3D world? Well, you contributed by buying into lack and limitation. You contributed by believing that everybody's either a oppressor or oppressed. This world that operates in always talking about racism and bigotry and we are on stolen land, and we are if you're white, you should be ashamed of yourself because you were a slave owner. That mindset, don't try and change that. Let them be where they're at, because they're getting to experience the effect of such limited thinking, constantly at odds with other people. Every single time they see a white person, even if they're white, they're seeing them as an oppressor. Every single time that they're thinking about, I'm white, oh my gosh, I know, terrible, I've been a horrible person. Now they're a victim of their own powerful mind. They don't even understand that. Leave them alone. Go find other friends who are not playing inside of that very immature way of thinking because they don't understand the power of their mind. So when you spend 3 to 5 minutes accepting that you are a powerful creator, do you want to continue to create divisiveness, separation? The people who walk around saying, this liberal mindset. I'm so liberal and thinking, this woke ideology, this mentality that everybody's oppressed and somebody has to be in charge. More of that Marxist, communist. I forget all the terminologies for that mindset. I used to think like that. I used to think, well, we all should share. And I do now think we all should share, but we should share because we want to share, not because we have to share to make other people feel good when we have no power over how they feel. When you begin to train your mind to understand, excuse me, excuse me, when you understand the mechanics of the power of your mind, then you realize, oh, trying to get somebody else to see you as powerful or as a victim because of the color of your skin or the gender, your genitalia, that that's silly. You From this perspective, you go, oh, that's pretty silly. I want them to think how I want them to think about me. Everybody thinks however they want to think, which causes how they feel. And so we got to understand the basics of the power of thinking. Then we bring that into the master class. We bring it into the PhD classroom. Master class, you take full control of your mind, which only you can rule, and which you've always ruled, but you let the ego rule it, or you let the Holy Spirit's thoughts rule. When you decide you only want to think with the Holy Spirit, which is really the only choice we have to make, it's a choiceless choice to think how God created you to think. Then you move into that PhD program where you begin to let yourself become like a little child so you can enter the kingdom and then co-create the happy dream from there with others who are operating in the 5D kind of consciousness. Excuse me, got all congested all of a sudden. So we have an opportunity to change the world, but that only happens when you change your perspective about the world, when you realize that you've invented it. And instead of giving energy to the old world that you invented, that you don't want to participate in anymore, you give energy to the new world that you want to participate in. And there are no better teachers than children, which is it's an amazing thing how we got conditioned to believe. Little kids know nothing. We got to fill their minds up with information. No, they know everything. And they're happy to teach you if you stop looking at them with that limited mindset that they don't know much. Excuse me a second. I need to blow my nose here a little bit. So let's keep going here. So after those longer practice periods, 3 to 5 minutes that are recommended, sentence 2 says, more than 5 minutes can be utilized if you find the exercises restful. If you are resting inside of the truth of who you are, Ellie can spend an hour in the sandbox. Her imagination is in all over the place. She is restful. She is peaceful. If I were to take her blood pressure, it'd probably be pretty low. She is very restful. She is resting in the truth of who she is. So imagine like Ellie. Sentence number 3 says, to facilitate this, select a time when few distractions are anticipated and when you yourself feel reasonably ready. Ellie doesn't have to set the stage. She has no distractions. She's always focused on whatever is happening in the moment. So here we go. Be like Ellie. Find a place where you can just sit. Some of us have to get rid of the distractions, shut the window so you're not listening to the lawnmowers going, turn off the TV, turn off the phone, sit down and spend a little time remembering the power of your imagination. Go back to when you were a little kid and you had the best moments and you were imagining. And I remember it being in school, looking out the window. I went to school with nuns. And back in those days, they had rulers, and they were not afraid to use them. And I'd be looking out the window, and the teacher, the nun teacher was asking a question, and I'm out looking, and next thing I know, I've got the teacher coming by, whacking that ruler on my desk. If I was lucky, she hit the desk. If not, she hit my hand. And that was acceptable. Parents were good with corporal punishment like that. I learned some really good lessons that way. And of course I jumped and startled me out of my imagination into this boring thing that I was supposed to be learning here in the classroom. Go back to that place where you were lost in imagination before they told you that that was a waste of time, that you were going to waste your life if you were just daydreaming. And let's make daydreaming, good again. Let's make it healthy again. Let's bring it back and make it something that is part of our practice. That's what this is asking you to do. Activate that daydream that is coming from a mind that has been cleared of so much confusion from the ego, that you are operating as more of the light that you are, which recognizes that what you do for you do for all. Activate that imagination and build sandcastles in the sky. Build a world where the truth of who we are is remembered, and everybody is happy to be the expression, the unique expression that they are. If you want to be an accountant, if you want to be a farmer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a stay-at-home parent, that all of that is accepted because all of it contributes to the greater good. Wow, what an amazing life we're co-creating. It's happening. Those communities that care about each other that way is beautiful and amazing. The next paragraph 5, these exercises are also to be continued during the day as often as possible. The shorter applications consist of repeating the idea slowly. I have invented the world I see. Break it down. Who's the I that has invented the world that the I sees? Sit with each word. Is the I, the ego, me that is inventing the world? No wonder it's filled with darkness. Is the I the light that you are, the spirit? Are you looking through the projector of your mind and you see nothing but potential possibilities, goodness? Then you're seeing with the Holy Spirit in you. You're seeing through the eyes of love. You're seeing through, with your Christ vision. Sort out, get clear that everything that is dark and unloving and fear-based is the ego looking through. You've given it permission to be the one who's looking for you, until you get to the place that you are the presence of awareness and you're aware that you have a choice between which of these two things are you going to put in front of your light. Are you going to put in front of your light darkness, or are you going to put in front of your light more light, joy, peace, happiness, goodness? See the best of others or see the worst of others? Because when you see that, it's coming from what you believe is true about you. That's what's so amazing. Cause, effect. Then it says, the shorter applications consist of repeating the idea slowly as you survey either your inner or outer world. It does not matter which you choose, because they're both the same. Last paragraph. Paragraph 6, the idea for today should also be applied immediately to any situation that may distress you. The irritation is an invitation. Apply the idea by telling yourself, I have invented the situation as I see it. The more we practice that, irritation is an invitation. I created this. I made this up. What is this here to help me see? My big irritations in the beginning, it took me a lot of work to get past how bad my dad was and how terrible, the things that he did were. It took a while because my ego wanted to be right about what I had judged. And then I realized, well, that keeps me in a perpetual state of victimhood. Dad had, power to hurt me. He's been dead for 30 years. How can a dead person have power to make me feel bad? And then I realized, oh, it's the thoughts that I think about my dad that make me feel bad. Hello, stop thinking those thoughts. It became that simple. Man, was it startling when I realized I've caused every single feeling that I've ever had. And when I got honest, It was like, yep, I sure did. Every single feeling I've had, I caused it. And of course, this is where immature people on their journey, their spiritual journey, we know there's immaturity because we don't know as much, and then we mature and know more. Immature people in their journey, I don't care if you're spiritual, if you don't accept that you're the creator of your own feelings, then you will deny it because you're looking at the world through the eyes of the ego, and you're not prepared to honestly take responsibility for how you experience your reality. You don't want to acknowledge that you invented the world you see, so you remain a victim of it. And this is why we were given free will. We have the ability to believe whatever we want to believe, and God's not going to punish us. We're not going to be in trouble for believing that we're a victim. And when you're tired of playing that game, like a kid, like Ellie, someday she's going to get tired of the sandbox. She will go on to something else. When you're tired of playing the victim, you move on to something a little bit more elegant, a little more mature. You begin to play, spend a couple of minutes a day activating your imagination. Imagine the beautiful world that you prefer. And I promise you, the ego's going to insert a few bad people in it, and you have to decide, no, that's not part of it. You have to learn to override your own thoughts, override anything that doesn't feel good by thinking the thoughts that will cause you to feel good. These lessons are all about how powerful we are. We were created so powerful that we can believe that we're not. We were created so powerful that we can think that something outside of us has power over us. That's the 3D world. If you're ready to graduate to the next level, stop thinking thoughts with the ego. Start thinking thoughts with the Holy Spirit. That's the only way to get out of this dimension, is you've got to accept that the Holy Spirit is also talking to you. Always has been. Why? Because it's the light in the projector. That light's always been on, but we've been putting stuff in front of it, so we see shadows out there. Those shadows are cast by the ego, which is the beliefs that you keep putting, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not powerful enough, that I don't create my own reality. Somebody else made me feel this. Somebody else made me do that. When we get to the place that we are prepared to take full responsibility for our mind, then we will be the co-creators. We will invent the world we want to play in. That's what the happy dream is about. We don't exit the dream. We truly co-create a much more enjoyable dream. So we've got these stages that we can go through. Honesty says what stage I'm in. And most people in the earlier stages think they're further along. I know it in others because I know it in me. Until you begin to really take control of your thinking. Once you begin to be aware that your thoughts create your reality, that's when the honesty really kicks in. That's when the delusion that we're further along begins to drop away. That's when we stop doing the spiritual bypassing and we begin to take responsibility. We get there when we get there. There's no rush to get there, but why delay getting there when you're just going to be happier and more peaceful and free? It's totally under our control. As always, I am so grateful to each and every one of you that came to listen to this transmission. This stuff flows through me. I didn't think about this, so I love it. I love it because it leaves me in such a high vibe. I'm sure everybody around me loves it too, because I come out of here and I'm like, oh, I'm just so excited, flying high. Remember, you've invented the world you see. If you want to invent a better, and not a better world, a different world with love, joy, and peace, and you want a tribe to do it with, come join us in the Awareness Academy. It's a lot of fun over there when we get together in our classes. All right, I'll see some of you guys later. Love you all. Bye-bye.